Virgin Islands, and they don't have to pay taxes here because of that.
Interesting.
And I'm like, what am I missing?
I didn't even hear
here?
about that.
Yeah, I was like, and he gets there, and all of a sudden he becomes Mr. Businessman.
But
And I think, I don't know, maybe it's so sudden. Maybe because he's down in Miami and maybe not up here, working for the Yankees or whatever. But it seems like he's become Mr. Non-Yankee. Where this guy was going to be Mr. Yankee the way Joe DiMaggio was Mr. Yankee.
right.
And
Joe
now,
DiMaggio was also Mr. Coffee, but that's
right,
besides
that's
the
true. And he never worked in baseball, I don't think, afterwards. I don't think he did.
Don't know.
But
Don't remember.
it just seems like this whole thing with him is kind of strange. He's always been very interested in his image and how it played out,
Of
and
course.
he was very good with that, and he was a great Yankee. Let's be honest.
No doubting that.
So
One of the greatest shortstops in history. In fact, probably one of the greatest players in history.
one of them, I'd say that. I mean, I don't know if I put him in top 10, but
Of what? Shortstops?
shortstops, yes. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not putting him in the top 10 players of all time, although he is, number 5 or 6 on the all-time hit list.
Yeah.
But he's clearly one of the 3 best shortstops ever.
So it just seems like he gets down to Miami and he gets a little sneaky.
I don't think it's sneaky necessarily, but I think what you're dealing with as far as Derek Jeter is he instantly became the face of that franchise, even though as far as the purchase price goes, he didn't put a lot of money in.
No.
He owns something like 3% of the club,
It's maybe even less.
but it could be even less. It could be 2.5%.
It's like when Jay-Z bought the Nets.
Right,
Remember
but
that? And you find out he owned 0.5%.
But the reason that he was involved in that group is because they wanted Derek Jeter. He gave them legitimacy. Now, I think that with that group, the plan all along was, all right, well, we're going to buy this team, but we need to tear things down because payroll-wise, we're losing money, and we don't want to lose money. So the problem became that, especially with the Stanton contract, he signed, 12 years, $325 million, I think it was.
Right.
And that hamstrung the organization because the only way you're going to cut payroll is by trading that contract. And the contract, even worse for the Marlins, was the contract was backloaded, which means I don't even know what Stanton's making this year. It's something like $20 million. But as the contract goes on, the salaries go way higher. I mean, the last few years of that contract, he's making something like $30 million a year. So from that standpoint, the Marlins wanted to try to get out of those payments for those years. But how else are you going to get rid of that contract unless you trade it for what is perceived to be less than actual value in terms of return? Now, if let's say if the Marlins would have taken Jacoby Ellsbury back in the trade, they would have gotten better prospects from the Yankees because Jacoby Ellsbury still owed about $60 million on his contract.
Right.
So from that standpoint, I thought the Marlins made a mistake because you'd still have a big number on the books, but for far fewer years. And if you wind up getting a better return in terms of prospects, like if they could have gotten Clint Frazier and Chance Adams and Justice Sheffield, let's say those 3 guys who are 3 of the Yankees' best prospects, then you get that, but you also take on Jacoby Ellsbury. To me, it's worth the money that it would have cost them for Jacoby Ellsbury because it's just trading money that you're going to be paying Stanton anyway.
Right.
Now, Jeter winds up being the guy who has to say, hey, we just traded our best player, and yeah, we didn't get anybody in the top 5 Yankee prospects in return for him. But the main reason that we traded him was money. Now, baseball fans these days don't want to hear anything about that because they think all of these owners have money coming out of their ears, and it's expensive to go to games.
Oh, I know.
So
that.
they are of the
That's why I
mindset,
go to less games.
well, yeah, but they are of the mindset that, look, games are expensive enough. You guys are making money. We don't want to hear anybody crying poverty. But essentially what the Marlins did was reduce their payroll by somewhere around 40%.
Sure. I'm not saying what they did was wrong. It just seems that I'm surprised that Jeter would allow himself to be the face of something that in the face of the fans because he's always been fan friendly. He's always been, and I know when you move into ownership, it's a different ball game.
Of course,
but he's what if A-Rod had been that, let's say it was A-Rod instead of Derek Jeter, because A-Rod probably has more money to invest, and he seems to be invested. You see him on Shark Tank and everything. I would expect that from Alex Rodriguez. I don't expect it from Derek Jeter.
I don't know,
and maybe I'm wrong for thinking that, but
let's put it this way. Derek Jeter, I respect what he's doing because he certainly could have just put his money in, been the face of the group buying the team while they were in the process of buying the team, and then he could have just said, "All right, you know what? This is all going to go south in a hurry, and I don't want to be the guy who is telling fans that we have bad news for you, and this is going to take about 5 years, but we still want you to come out to games, and we need your money because
they're not drawing anything."
Well, I mean, there was a game apparently last week where they had 6,600 people.
Yeah,
and their Double-A team actually outdrew them because their Double-A team that day got 7,000. But Jeter, I give him credit. The reason I give him credit is because I think in his mind, he is of the mindset that he's always been a successful guy. And I think he thinks that he is somehow going to figure out a way to make this all work. And he wants to be that guy when it starts to work. He still wants to be the face that's out there. And now he's going to be putting the good news out there. I don't know that A-Rod would have done the same thing. I think A-Rod would have just been like, "Hey, guys, you got to find somebody else to make these announcements because people are going to hate me for this." A-Rod doesn't like being hated. Really doesn't like it. He's
but
very.
It's funny because a lot of people just naturally hate him.
Yeah, but I think with Jeter, I don't think he really cares that much what people think about him as long as what he thinks he's doing is right. And I think that's what he thinks in this situation because it was necessary for the Marlins to start making money, and I think what they needed to do. Well, they didn't necessarily need to trade all these players, but what they did need to start reducing payroll, and you might as well do it all in one fell swoop. What do you have there, brother?
By the way, Andrew Zucker, who is the brains behind the home stretch.
Did he write that on the note that he gave you?
No, but he just handed me something. It says the White Sox-Rays game last week drew sub 1,000. I don't know if
I went to a game like that one time.
Shouldn't it say below 1,000? But some is the same.
Sub is the same thing. I went to a game myself and my good friend Dave Rosenbaum. So we went to, it was the makeup of a rainout. This was actually in Cleveland, and this was a couple
was it like
20-some years ago
game?
This was before Albert Bell and Carlos Baerga, and this was before Jacobs Field. So it was a long time ago. But we went to this game. They were playing the Red Sox, actually, because we were in Cleveland. We were doing our ballpark tour that year. I want to say the attendance was somewhere around 2,400.
Wow.
And they basically said in Cleveland, look, we know we're not going to sell a lot of tickets for this game. Just buy a ticket. Everything is general admission, and just buy a ticket, sit wherever you want. And like I said, 2,400 people around. It was it was definitely under 2,500.
Right.
And I still didn't get a foul ball.
Really?
Which just aggravated the hell out of me. And one guy got like 3, just because he was sitting towards the line. We were sitting pretty much right behind home plate, and then I started thinking, I said, maybe I'll go out there and see if I can get a ball.
I remember you, me, Rob Tuck, Ken Elsner. I don't know if Richie was with us. We went to a Mets game right before everyone went away to college, where Ken and Rob did. Well, so yeah, and you went to Hofstra.
Right.
And there must have been like 3,000 fans there.
Yeah.
It was, and it was against the Reds. It was against the Reds. Remember, we had to pay the usher $1 to sit down in the lower section. That was what I remember.
Back when $1 could get you a good bribe.
And back then, you also used to get the big gulps of beers, which they don't sell anymore.
What's wrong with that?
And I had like 4 of them. I was hammered.
Good thing you weren't driving.
And you and me were like chanting in the 9th inning. Let's go Mets.
Yeah, woo.
The Mets will lose at like 5-2 or something.
Drink beer.
And we would start chanting, let's go Mets. Anyway, we're going to take a break. 516-572-7440. We'll talk about Bartolo Colon, what happened to him last night. And also, guess who's back in the news? The New York Knicks. Woo-hoo. We'll be back right after this.
Hi, I'm Aurora Workman, the president of the Alumni Association of Nassau Community College, and we invite you to a special Women's Empowerment and Social Networking Breakfast on Saturday, April 28th at 10 a.m. in the CCB building on the campus of Nassau Community College. The Alumni Association is hosting this breakfast to bring together women for all communities to empower and create a social network for everyone to share information and form friendships that can assist all of us in our daily lives. It is a chance to help bring positive change back to our communities and for all of us to know that we are not alone. The keynote speaker is legislator Celie A. Binu, class of 1994. Honorees include Lisa Dolce, class of 1999, Dr. Corinne Graham, class of 2001, and Jaslyn Kaur, class of 2017. For more information, visit ncc.edu/alumni.
All hit music.
For all those songs radio has forgotten about, join me, Big Ed, Mondays from 10 a.m. till noon for The Good Gold Show. We'll bring back all the great hits of the 50s, 60s, 70s, and more. The sounds of doo-wop to disco, all the Motown, soul, and great rock and roll. We'll even take your requests and dedications to The Good Gold Show.
Music.
On the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC, and streaming on the iHeartRadio app.
Okay.
Go.
Tell your friends about the Nassau Morning Madhouse. Hear what you're missing.
Check it out.
Check it out.
I want to talk about something that's not going to be forever.
Oh my God, I'm so scared. What is this thing that's going to be off the grid, Mike?
So there was this one place. You used to sweep the nation. You'd see it
So
everywhere.
Like it was a store?
It was a
it
store.
A food place or?
I'm not going to go into specifics.
I'm going to go with Chuck E. Cheese's.
Oh,
Don't even.
Chuck E. Cheese's.
Stop. That was my childhood. I love Chuck E. Cheese.
Time to grow up.
I had a
Sam.
birthday party there.
I've never set
I've
foot
never
in
had-
Chuck E. Cheese.
What?
Where's your childhood? First, I learned you don't like Cheerios. Now you never step foot in Chuck E. We're changing.
I don't
that.
like things that start with CH.
The Nassau Morning Madhouse. Weekday mornings from 7 to 9. On the voice of Nassau Community College.
90.3 WHPC.
Anyway, we're back here on From the Press Box, 516-572-7440. By the way, you want to find out information about WHPC, just go to our website, nccradio.org. You find out the great schedule we have here at WHPC, when the other sports shows are on, because we have 4 sports shows here at WHPC. We have Sports Talk on Thursdays. We have Beyond the Game on Fridays. We have Home Stretch on... We actually have 5 sports shows. We have the home stretch with the great Andrew Zucker. You know, I'm surprised he didn't stop. You know, he quietly came in, left that sheet of paper and then left because he's always talking sports with you.
He was very stealth. Right? It was
yeah.
almost ninja-like.
Yeah, I was like, I thought he might want to. We'll put him on the air. He's a Duke guy, right?
North Carolina.
North Carolina. How do you be
Almost equally as evil.
how do you become a North Carolina guy? You know, how do you become? I can understand
I'm
Duke.
at a loss.
Our friend Suzanne St. Pierre went there for law school. I understand that.
Good for her.
You know, but how do you become a Duke fan when you have no connection to it?
Don't encourage them.
You know, it's an evil place. You know, let's just be evil. Anyway, Bartolo Colon,
Your boy.
my boy, had a no-hitter.
Perfect game.
Perfect game actually for 7 innings.
7 innings.
And then
last night.
they took him out like after 2.
No, they didn't take him out.
Well, not after that, but you know what I mean.
They gave up a walk.
They gave up a walk, and then a hit, and then
it hit a double down the line with second and third. So yeah, you take him out. That's when it's time to say, hey, Bartolo is he's running on fumes. He's a large man.
How do you know he's running on fumes? This guy is a large man who runs on fumes great.
He's a large man who was running on fumes. He had just given up a double. He was 3-1 or 3-2, first 3-ball count of the night, and the pitch that was ball 4 wasn't close. So that's a bad sign.
Maybe his head's more out of it than his arm.
Bad sign. Then the next guy doubles down the right field line, second and third. So yeah, it's a 1-0 game. You bring in the relief pitcher.
I don't know, and
That's what you do.
And what happens?
And the guy gave up a sacrifice fly. What are you going to do? That's not a bad thing. A sac fly. It's an out, but it's an out with a guy on third.
But
so,
he lost the decision. And I
Well, he
got
got
to
no
ask you a
decision.
question: Is there a stat for pitchers
The answer to that is yes, but go ahead. There's a stat for everything.
Well, is there a stat for pitchers who, pitch most of the game well, but then, the score outgoes them?
Yes.